pow, 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 pow. Welcome to the show, my friends. It is I, Sean M. Smith, SMS, S squared 22. You can just call me the man with the plan. I am the guy that runs this show. Let's talk marketing every single week here on both Facebook Live and YouTube Live, because that is what I do, because I like to do it. This is the 17th edition of this very show, and I get a charge out of every single episode. This week's charge comes at the stake of I forgot to charge the extra battery for my camera. So luckily, the OBS that I use, I'm going to be able to switch over to my laptop again, like in the old days at some point if it becomes an issue while I'm doing presentation. But holy cow, if I didn't have the largest amount of anxiety ever for the better part of the last 45 minutes, because you can't rapid charge a camera battery. But what I want to know, friends, is if you want to be involved in this week's show, I need you to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and punch the blue button. It's going to allow you to put your beautiful faces and handsome mugs in the show when you leave comments this week for me and my friends. So what I need first, if you heard that, drop a 1 in the comment just so I know you guys can hear me. And I'm going to take a sip of water because I'm hydrating, because I'm terrified about the state of this battery. And I shouldn't be. I should just be letting it go and performing. Yet I can't be. Yes. Ethan, that mustache is growing arms. I'm not trying to. I'm going in to get it styled before a wedding. Not styled, but like I'm getting a haircut for it before a wedding at the end of next month. So before that, I'm just usually trimming it the way I would normally, and then taking it on from there. Who knows? Who knows what that means? Who knows? But that's the logic. So this week, guys, I said, let's come in positive. Let's come in talking about something difficult, though, for filmmakers. It's difficult for me. It was hard when it was my own projects. And I was like, man, I really need to do some deep examination why is it trying to authenticate? My computer's suddenly trying to authenticate user right now. Like right now is the moment it wants to authenticate a user. Like it's as if it knows the most inconvenient time in my life. Right now is the time we need to do this. Don't know other time. No, Sean, not an hour. All right, so here's what we do. I was saying we need to come positive because what we're talking about this week's kind of difficult, not because it's like a hard topic, like you need to figure it out. It's like a jam board. We need to spend an hour really thinking and probing and pulling stuff apart, but because we really need to figure out like some deep stuff to say like, man, like I failed, or I'm failing, or I'm sucking at something, and I did well at this, but I'm not good at this. What can I do differently? Because that's what Uncle Sean is here for, or Buddy Sean, or whatever. But so I needed you to come in this week, not as a Nosferatu, but as a Yes-feratu. I just really wanted to do that. I wanted to hold that shirt up, and I hope you liked it. I hope you liked that shirt. Wah, wah, wah. So we are going to dive into digital marketing. What's the most important type of placements? Philosophy as far as where I think things stand, what I would say are the types of things you need to be looking out for, mentality looking into marketing your pages or your page, marketing your film or your project, and the overall mindset of like, I have said it before, like this business is literally about shaking hands. When people are like, oh, it's about who you know, not how, like, yes, you're right. It's about who you know. But a lot of the game now is about who you know online. Like if I can get in front of, ethansgreatsite.com and his 10,000 viewers will now know about me. And I do the law of attrition, right? This is literally the principle. 10% of those people will read the article if his monthly viewers are 10% or 10,000 people. So 10% of those people will read it. So 1,000 people will read the article. 10% of that may click the link through to my page. 10% of that final number, whatever that number is, may in fact create action on my film. So if that's 10 people, if that's 100 people, I don't do math off the top of my head. I think it's 100, but like that's far better than where you were to start with. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to talk about this stuff because it's important that we kind of have this discussion for Let's Talk Marketing number 17. Yay! Yay! And actually, I did my show at Filmocracy on Thursday. Thank you all for coming who did join me. That was a fantastic event with jam boards galore. And yeah, it was pretty fun. I'm going to be honest with you. You guys should check it out when I do them. I'll leave marks for the happiness. Ready? Here we go. But also, I was making them. This is awesome. This is awesome. Wrestling fans, you got it? Who's a wrestling fan? Any wrestling fans? No wrestling fans? I know there's a delay. The difference between here and Filmocracy is it's in real time. So when we're talking or we're engaging or I'm working in the jam board and we're talking, like you literally write your comment, I respond with my comment out loud. You put something in the Q&A, I can set it up and talk later. It's literally one-to-one engagement. So we had Zach and Jacob from Blackwell Film Company were with me. So that's it. Timothy. Oh, yeah. Tim is for sure. Tim, I can tell your life story a little bit if you don't mind. Tim was a wrestler. Tim Talbot here. This right here, this guy. Tim Talbot was a wrestler. He's actually shown me video of him wrestling. And that is super, super cool. And he's now a filmmaker, not just a filmmaker, but also a producer and coach to filmmakers. And he does a lot of really great work in the film threads and film groups. And I think that he has a lot to offer. I think emerging filmmakers, and they definitely need to be checking out what he's doing. So we'll have him on at some point to talk as well about what's going on. But anyway, this is awesome. This is awesome. And here she is, this crying girl. I need her in my life, she makes me feel this one. She makes me feel and hear what I need to feel in there for you. And that hair, that is good hair. That's good 80s hair. Anyway, so here we go. So you put out a film. That is awesome. That is one of the hardest things to do. Putting out a film is difficult from conception to completion. But then there's this big now what feeling. There's a huge now what feeling when you're done. And that now what feeling is going to be like, well, obviously we need people talking about it. Well, how do we do that? Well, we must reach out to this person and then this person, and then it'll find its audience on its own. No. Hey, Sean Jackson shows up. This week I will say this. Sean, thank you, sir, for coming. I apologize for not calling you sir last week. You deserve a sir every time you show up to the show. Everyone gets a sir. Every lady gets a madam. I screwed it up last week for those that weren't in the know. Called Sean a woman because Sean is a woman in the film community or a web series community as well too. Not this Sean. There's another Sean, and it's incredibly confusing for me because I'm old, and when you're a ginger, it's just rusting brain. Really, is what it is. It's just rusting brain putting its way out. So you put out a film. You got this film, and it is gangbusters, but it's small, and you did it on a really tiny budget, which means you probably weren't at a studio, which means no one was talking about it before this thing was coming out. So you really need to do something to get people to care, right? You need to get people to care. So you're going to reach out to websites. You're going to reach out to podcasters. You're going to reach out to other types of bloggers. And there's a difference, obviously, between a blogger and a website. Yeah, IGN.com is different and a different strategy for outreach than reaching out to Ethan's happyblog.com, where he's writing by himself. And it's just his experiences and talking. That's a different thing, and that can be beneficial, and a lot of times is because that opens other doors. Remember, slingshot. We'll talk about it. But what ends up happening is there's so much that needs to be done, and we talk about it when we do our jam boards. There's 9 individual pieces, I say, of an overall campaign in this day and age that need to be accounted for. We need to think about this stuff. So let's move to what we're going to do. First things I'm going to say, these are great thoughts, and these matter. These are things that recently I've had either in my calls. And remember, if you've ever had a call with me, you get one call. If you're a first-time viewer of the show, I have you come to One Tub. We do a little phone call for 45 minutes, just chat it up, see what's going on. You can ask anyone that's been on. Hopefully, they're beneficial. Sometimes there's a fit, and that can be we can work, and you can become a client of mine. Other times, I can point you into resources that make better sense, but there's nothing wrong with either of those situations. So here we go. Great thoughts. So here we go. Making a movie is hard. Being rejected for a placement is hard too. Man, I'm going to tell you, thinking that you have a slam dunk home run relationship that is going to get you the front page of snobbyrobot.com, and it doesn't. In fact, they don't even listen to your pitch. They don't even acknowledge your pitch. It requires you beating around the bush for 3 months to get a conversation with them, to get an interview set up with the pitch. That's hurtful, man. That's some painful stuff. And this is you coming off a high of creating something, expressing yourself, putting yourself out there, really being like, man, like this is some deep stuff. I built, let's say it's a horror film, because this is my favorite genre. So we'll always go to horror. You just built a horror film and you're like, man, I'm scaring people. This is crazy. I did some psychological stuff, and I'm working. I don't know if Zach Blackwell's on today. Like, I'm doing some stuff that's also messing with senses, auditory and auditory senses. And like, we're really doing some things that are moving people, making them uncomfortable within the scenes, and like real brilliant ideas. And I'm like, yeah. And then you come to doing something so simple as an email and you don't hear back. It is the worst. Absolute worst. So I just want to make it clear, it is hard to make a movie, but being rejected for a placement is just as hard. And you need to make sure that you take care of yourself and your spirit, and you be kind to yourself with this stuff. This stuff is not easy. Now here we go. First one. This is what I heard a couple weeks ago from a friend of a friend. This guy came to me through them. Project I worked on a couple of years ago. My indie film was just recruited for a feature because was rejected for a feature because the site didn't know me. What do I do? Man, this one's easy. This has literally become kind of like my hallmark. And I keep teaching it to people. It's a little bit of a training piece for everyone. Lunch. Wow, I was hiccup and burp. Wow, that was disgusting. I couldn't have held that back if I wanted, people. Anyway, you made an indie film, all right, and you got rejected on a feature because the site just didn't know you. They just literally were like, I've never heard of you. We know nothing. We don't have a track record. There's no IMDb. We don't know your production company. You don't have a track. Like, we don't want to vouch for your work. It happens. A site just will just say, like, hey, man, we don't know you. It's okay. Your product may be awesome, but I don't know you. I mean, so, how do you know me? Like, what's worth working on? So, it's time for the slingshot. Show of hands, and I mean it. I really mean it. This is not to be vain and drive engagement. I'm asking because this is a teaching moment. Show of hands, who does not know what the slingshot is? When I refer to the slingshot, I'm gonna grab this thing. I'm gonna grab this thing. thing. I'm gonna grab this thing. Gonna grab this thing. All right. So basically, you all know what it is. You don't need me to explain the slingshot. Is that what I'm gathering? Because I can just move on. I grabbed the whiteboard. I grabbed the whiteboard. The big whiteboard, too, not the little tiny one. This one's got the magnet. Little magnet. I'm doing it anyway. All right. Slingshot. All right. Here we go. Now, I know you can hear me because I turned the gain up really high on this microphone, so you can hear me just fine. The slingshot is a simple principle. You reach out to this site right here, and these guys are just like, dude, who are you? Who are you, guy? I don't know you, buddy. At this point, it's like, you know what? Like, hey, what do you want to do together? Oh, we're off the screen. Hang on, let's here we go. Like, hey, who are you, buddy? Who are you, guy? I don't know you. Right here. So what you need to do next is you go back a level. So this is like IGN. I just say IGN every time because I think geek culture. I can also do horror and do bloody disgusting, or like Rue Morgue, or like you can even do like Fangoria if you're gonna do magazine related stuff as well too. But so we'll do that. We'll do all three. So we'll say it's geek related. So they said no. So you go back a level. You find the next level site. You find that next one. You do a Google search. You just Google horror keyword news. Horror news, not blog, news. And what that'll do is it'll bring up every piece of news, and it'll bring up the top ones. So it'll bring up bloody disgusting, and it'll bring up like IGN, it'll bring up like Variety when they do a post, and it'll bring up the more, but then you'll bring up more, and then suddenly you'll get down towards the bottom and you'll start seeing some smaller sites. You're going to reach out to those guys. So you can run to Scott of Doom, right? We're going to reach out to Scott of Doom. We're going to reach out to Tim's site of terror, Tim's site of terror. And we're going to, and basically what you're doing is you're pulling back and loading this thing. So consider this thing like a little basket, right? Instead of like the little thing you hold the pebble with, you're loading this basket. And then you go even further back. All right, who's the next biggest? Well, let's say you didn't hear from Fangoria, or let's say you didn't hear from a podcast. Let's say you hear from Shockwaves. Isn't Shockwave? I'll say Shockwaves for now because I can't think of their new name. Let's say you hear from Shockwaves and they want to have you on for an interview, right? It's not Shockwaves anymore. I know that that's not the name anymore. Maybe they want to have you on for an interview. So you load this up and you go back. What's another one? Who else we got? Let's say we got yeah, all right, here we go. I'm okay with this. B Club will be on page 300. No, but here's the thing, Sean. You're a third or fourth level site. You play an important piece in the ecosystem because you can be in here or in here or in here. We do the B Club and have a review. And we pair that with an Inside Pulse review. And a 411 Mania review. And you can't see that now because I got Sean's thing up. But suddenly, you've got a bit. You now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 things that you now can go back to this site or this site, right? And go back and be like, hey, listen, we did this really great stuff here. Would absolutely love to talk to you now. We're getting some buzz, and it changes it because you now have begun to build a coverage book. Because now what happens is this. If you're a PR person, if you're a press person, this isn't a link in a Google Drive. This is a page and it's a PDF, and here's like the image to the page, and of the page itself. And here's a little bit about what we did. And then there's the link at the bottom. It's a coverage book, and there's 6 of them. And right now, that's a win. Do you know why? Because this is, let's say this is 100 eyes, and this is 1,000 eyes. This is 2,000 eyes. All right, well, that's 3,100 eyeballs that have seen your product that didn't before this, had no idea who the hell you were, had no idea who you were before this. And now they have a potential to care. They actually could become advocates. You could win their hearts and minds. And guess how you do it? You do it at the next step. You go over here to the Shockwaves, which I can't remember the name of Rebecca's new podcast is with Eldrick, but like you go there, and that's got listenership probably of 5,000. So it's 5,000 ears there. And suddenly you're building yourself up, and you get to these sites, and all of a sudden you've got this huge coverage book. And once the coverage book is there, you make yourself unavoidable. Unavoidable. That's what the deal is. Who gets that? Everybody should get that. And I'm one of the kings of that, by the way. I have taken garbage projects, and gotten them sweet-ass coverage because they weren't paying attention. But for the first 3 weeks, I got them little tiny placements at sites nobody knew or didn't care about. And I built a coverage book of like 6 pages. And I went to the site and was like, hey, man, you can't avoid this. Look at this, man. There's buzz. There's buzz right now for this. And you handed them something. And you're like, look at buzz. Buzz sells. I've sold films with nothing but buzz to start with, before release, before a final cut, just buzz. That's it. And it's not because I'm awesome at this. It's just because I'm smart. I'm clever. You guys can do this. You're smart. You make films. You understand the space. Obviously, Sean, you're a film guy. I mean, for crying out loud, you love B films. You guys got to start sending me really great tape recommendations, by the way. I want VHS horror tapes so that I can start doing that. I want to know what's only available on VHS. Just want to know. Okay, let's go. Whew, that was a good one. Hopefully that was helpful. Next, I just did an interview with a site, and they were really positive. What are the long-term benefits? Oh, hang on a sec. I want to say this. Bad reviews are still valuable. Every iteration of someone's name out there is good. Every single one. That's all there is to it. Unless there's like horrible consequences of like you did something terrible and you're going to jail, stuff like that. It's still pretty good. I've done some pretty wacky stuff for publicity that's sold like app installs for like Wheel of Fortune. I've done some wacky stuff. but yeah, no, man, it's all good. Like you play, everyone plays a role as long as they're honest. As long as they're honest. Honesty is the most important and respected thing. And you know what? Build that relationship. You know, instead of that person, as long as you're honest with the person that comes to you, come back to them. You know, if they're talking and you're building something, relationship for newer film, and they come back to you later with something else, and you're like, hey, man, that's a relationship. And that's what I always say at the very end of this section. It's going to be like, you know, it's shaking hands digitally. Like that's the truth. Jay Horton, who's in here because, you know, what up, says no such thing as bad press. Just spell my name right. Correct. I have that problem because I have both the W and the M. As we've all found out, it's very difficult for that. But yeah, so here we go. We'll sit here. I just did an interview with the site, and they were really positive. What are the long-term benefits? Dude, interviews are awesome for personal brand. Like in the short term, because you're doing a lot of SEO type keyword load. No, I don't say keyword loading. A lot of keywording for the film or project you're working on presently or before. It makes it really sexy for that project. But what it really is long term is super sexy for you, because it's like literally take the slingshot and build it for you. You're making a coverage book for you. Like you made this film and that's on IMDb. And you can literally say, I made 50 films, and that's Jay Horton. Like, that's insane to me. I can't process that at times. You can you could take 50 films and put that on IMDb, but like 50 interviews and maybe one about a film or two about one film, and you're talking about different things, and there's new things always coming out, and there's new discussions being had. It's awesome. Long-term benefits from a really positive interview. You open up a good relationship with whatever site it is. You open up a good relationship with whatever writer that was, because they're not necessarily going to be loyal to that site alone. They could go elsewhere. And then ultimately, it's good for you. Build a coverage book for you. Like I have one for me. I've written in a ton of sites. I mean, obviously I was at Fox Sports also for 4 years, but like I have really weird one, like just a weird book of coverage on stuff I did, stuff I've written, stuff I should say. Thank you. Jay, if you don't mind, can you share it to your group now? It would be helpful for me. I'm kind of rushing against the camera battery. kind of hurting. Mm. And that is cranberry lime seltzer from Giant. It is thank you, friendo. Yeah, honestly, the thing is, like, I know that with a lot of filmmakers as well too, there's like a reluctance to put yourself out as what you would see as in front of the film, like out in front of it, because it's about art, or you're not like this, you're not, it's not about that. You can do it at a cycle as well. If you develop these relationships during the cycle, if you're the person speaking to the website about, hey, I got this film, here's this, and you're sending the outreach yourself, or you're working with someone that's keeping you in close communication with them, you're going to be able to actually, reach back out to them later and like, hey, let's have a conversation now. To talk about filmmaker, this about what his next steps are. Like, be your own publicist and be a good one. And how do you learn how to be a publicist? You just Google publicity, Google PR, Google publicity letter, Google online publicity. I'm just trying to, because that's what I Googled to figure out what the heck I was doing when I was working my job. That's all I know. I just wanted to be decent at it. And back in that day, I had no idea what I was doing. I was kind of thrown right into that job and was like lucky to have one. And also I was doing urban music. My first job was Reza and Rocco. I bring it up all the time because Reza didn't want to be put on the shelf. And I had to go out to urban blogs and tell them that Reza didn't want to be put on the shelf. And they laughed at me. But then we had a party and they told me that it was the ballsiest thing ever to do outreach to sites, telling them that he didn't want to be put on the shelf, because I literally had nothing to give them except a short YouTube video being like, nah, I won't be put on the shelf. When he literally was saying he'd been put on the shelf. It's pretty careers, man. Careers. I spent $50K on my last movie and no one cares about the film. This one embarrassed me, by the way, for them, because can I do something on social to raise the temperature? Okay. There was a bunch of stuff here that upset me. First, it was the impression that they spent a lot of money on the film, so people should care about it online, just generally care, as if like you spent a lot of money and then that was the value, that was the value proposition. You put money in, we should care even without hearing about it. That's not how marketing works. If someone made $100 million movie and we didn't tell you about it at all as an industry, you would not know or care about it. What if it was a Care Bears movie and the Care Bears were half Terminator and half Godzilla? Like, no one told you about it. Like, you wouldn't care. Then there's literally 3 hooks right there. It's Care Bears, Terminator, and Godzilla. And then, like, you got built in tons of audience right there, and you've already screwed the pooch. But anyway, I've said my piece about that. Can you do something on social to raise the temperature? Yes. All right. So I would do something real simple. I do the $1 a day test. $1 a day test. I don't like people throwing a lot of money when they're not super good at paid social. I don't like dollar. I don't like people spending a lot of money when they're not good at social. I like to see them succeed where their skills are the most evident, but at the same time, it can be done. And what they need to do is they need to test their actual audience. So if they made this Care Bear movie, let's stay with Care Bears. Let's stay with this because evidently it's well received. Evidently Sean liked it, so Sean and Sean are in on the same idea. I like it. Um, so what we'll do is we'll find Care Bears. So we'll do an interest level. We'll do an interest level on the audience. We won't do a behavior. We'll say audience level, age. We'll just keep it wide open, 18 to 64 plus. We'll keep it male and female because we're going to do the $1 a day tests. And then we're going to do Care Bears. We're just going to look up Care Bears movie, Care Bears figures for interest, and you do them and just keep every day checking your stats to see what's going on. And as you gradually realize, oh, hey, this audience is actually 34 to 54, 55. Yeah, 55, because it's 9 years. 34, 55. We'll do this. We'll take this audience apart and we'll use that instead. We'll replicate the audience. You just need to, in order to find your audience, you need to make sure that you're being intelligent, not just with your spend, but with your energy. Right now, we're making a campaign for a Care Bear, Terminator, Godzilla movie. But what we can do better is use this dollar a day as a test case to determine whether or not there's enough data to do more. So we find our Care Bear audience, we refine it down, and then we see, hey, this is our audience. This is our actual audience. Now you know, instead of saying before, anecdotally, I spent $50,000. I'll do this. Anecdotally, I spent $50,000 thinking my audience was 28 to 34-year-olds, when realistically, when I did the research inside the demographic builder that is Facebook's ad servers, it turned out that wasn't my audience at all. It was a nostalgia play, and those people will care. And guess what? I'm going to tell you, Terminator's going to be a nostalgia play, and definitely Godzilla's a nostalgia play. That was why Godzilla fans always complain about the humans in Godzilla movies, because we don't care about the humans. We want to see Godzilla mess stuff up and get a tree shoved down his throat. You know, that's what we want. Jay Horton, I do the dollar a day thing. I have several of them running right now. I do them as tests, like you're saying, then small promotional boosts once the movie's out. Yep. So you have to do. I mean, it's just smart marketing. And are you going to tell me there's very few people smarter than Jay or I on this sort of stuff? And I think that we can be humble about it all we want, but realistically, you're talking about two people that it's worked for. So, I mean, throw your hands up on it and say, what's up a little bit, but you don't have to. So that's going to raise the temperature a little bit. And I think then you use that data to start crafting content that speaks to that. So all of what I do as a whole is inbound marketing. So the idea is that it's not necessarily the idea of outbound, where I'm reaching out to people in a way that I can disrupt their flow, but I'm trying to bring them in a way that's organic and natural to the flow of the way they're experiencing the day. So if I wanted to find these fans, I need to get them to, one, like my page, two, like my film, which is what we need to do with these campaigns. We need to promote them like, oh, Bear versus Terminator versus Godzilla, who would win? And then Bear versus Zilla, Bear versus Terminator, Terminator versus Bear. All of these ads, you need to restructure them in different ways based on who you're emphasizing. You know, and it's just like, you need to build these things in a way that makes sense so that you can financially survive. Because this guy spent $50,000. All right. He spent $50,000. All right. And after that, he had nothing left. And he was going to be able to raise money to make his next film. Okay. Because it was about making the film, and he could put it up on Tubi, and he went, I'm putting it to Film Hub. That's what he said. I put it to Film Hub and a distributor. I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm not a distro guy. That's not my thing. I'm marketing. But he, it's a missed opportunity, because you need to start then building what I was saying, inbound. So then what you need to do is then take all of the data and build a persona. You now know this woman, Christy. Christy, who is now, we said, 35 years old, and she had Care Bears as a kid, and she loved this film because X. And also turns out that when you build your profile, she's also in the Godzilla bucket, so that you're getting her on both. And then you build your funnel, so she goes from top of funnel at a very broad, like, check out this trailer for this film. And then you drop her in for $1. It's like, check out this, here's exclusive content only available here on Facebook. And then you go down here with, hey, you click the link and check out the hottest film of the summer. I don't know. I'm bullshitting right now. And then, at the very bottom, it's like, oh, and here's the link to download. And then you take them to download. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Like, who cares? Give it away for $1. You spent $50,000 on it. If you can't find a way to spend, $1 and give it away for $2, $3.99, $3.99, 75, 3x return on it. And if you can't find a way to make your money back within what is that? Within 2 months, you're very bad at business. What do we got here from Sean? Sean Jackson says, very good advice. Never thought about $1 a day. I've thrown, say, $20 a week promo for a positive review, so both us and the film benefit. Worth a watch right there. Yeah, it is. It is. It is very. I like the concept of giving back. What I used to do, Sean, just so you know, the concept of the reciprocity was big for me. When I worked in New York, I would get a review on my Slingshot. What I got real clever about was I was having a hard time with stuff. So I'd be like, well, here's the deal. You do this, I'll get you a front page on Dig and get this 300,000 people in traffic. And they'd be like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, how about this? How about you give me this review on the video, on the movie, and I'll get the front page and you'll see what I'm talking about. And then I would. And then obviously with Dig and stuff, when you get the front page, you would get like 16 to 35 or 40 other placements. I don't remember the exact numbers anymore. I had to do a case study. And it would drive like depending on what the genre was, or the vertical, we'll say vertical now, whatever the vertical was, it would make big difference, a big difference. Video games was a huge deal. I drove about 1 million hits a month for one site. And I kept them afloat until they got liquidated because I was driving 3 million hits a month by the end of it. And that was disappointing. But anyway, reciprocity. I'd work with a site. I'd say, hey, listen, you do this, I'll do this. And then I would do that, and then they get the hits. And if it didn't work, we'd do it again. We'd do a different piece. And we'd be like, hey, how about this? We'll just do this piece for you. I'd get them a front page somewhere so that they could do that. So, yeah, I like reciprocity. So it's really cool that you do the promo piece for them. So you do that promo. It's cool. It's cool. Let's go back over to this. So, raise the temperature. Email list is terrible. Email list is terrible. How do I grow it? Here's the deal. I would love to default to Jason Horton on this one, but here's the thing. I was asked the question, so I'm going to answer it how I answered the other day. You already have an email list. You just don't know it. And you haven't put in the time to go through and clean it up. Every single inbox that every single person has easily 2,500 contacts, and it would be daunting to do it. Like, you could realistically, I'd tell you this, like, you could spend it in the time and have someone on Fiverr do it and go into your email and literally categorize every single person and flag everybody into a list so that you knew. Or, oh, what am I doing? Why would I do that? Why don't you just output your list, your entire contact list, and then put them over to MailChimp? I don't know why I was doing it the other way. And then have them categorize it so that you could, like Jason says, shred and make them into friends, family, contacts, acquaintances. Do not email. And then you can sit there and be like, listen, this is really, really going to be important. And you can do it the correct way. I mean, now, how do you grow the list if your list is bad? If you're convinced you have no list whatsoever, right? You're convinced your list is a joke. What do you do for the list? Well, here's what you do. Do a Facebook ad, dollar a day, and do a sign up. So you can do I can't think of the name of the call, the actual sign up ones that you could do, the lead ads. Good Lord, couldn't come up with it. And you can push them into a CRM, into an actual module like HubSpot, or I think you can actually push them into MailChimp as well. But you can do an ad that you'd be like, hey, keeping track of the hottest news here with Horror Hound. And Horror Hound could push them into their CRM and build their mailing list, and you could add the modifier that it would be the what month are we in here? April 2021 lists, so that they would always know that they came from this group and they could email them off this group. And I think that that's the best way to do it. But you do $1 a day. I mean, because email is expensive to acquire, like if you're trying to do them one at a time. But an intelligent way would be to, like, dude, build your list by building your audience the same way you would wait, hold on. Build your list the same way you would build your audience is what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say. Build your list the same way you would build your audience. One at a time. All right. Here's the confusing one. I wrote this down and I was like, man, this is really confusing. This is literally my call. Email versus social versus PR versus SEO versus video versus view. The idea here is, what do I think is the most important? This needed to be asked. It was asked by me, of me, to me, and I still am going to say email. The thing is, I can do a lot with social. As director of social media in an agency here in Baltimore area, one of the largest agencies in the world. I've done digital PR and digital marketing agencies around the U.S. And continue to do so now. Do SEO for clients every day. Video marketing as well. But I'm going to say this. If you're going to have one element of your campaign that needs to not suck, it needs to be your email, which is why I'm saying, like, you need to take your campaign and you need to take your whole contact list and you need to upload that thing to MailChimp or Constant Contact or Klaviyo. No, Klaviyo is for small business. I was just making one up because I used it. It was really expensive, but so good for segmentation. But yeah, I think that that's a good one. I like that very much. I think email would be the one to do because you so much leverage. I think that if there's, 10,000 people on your list over time, I think that there's more you can do. Again, law of attrition. 10,000 times 10% was 1,000 times people. So that's people who are going to click through in your worst case scenario. 10,000 people, or 10% of 1,000 is 100. 100 people are going to click through to your webpage. Like, that's totally worth it. Like, you weren't getting that traffic otherwise. And to be honest with you, if they're good traffic, if it's good, clean traffic, I like it. What do you guys think of that? So what do you guys think? What do you think is the most important? Email, social, digital PR, SEO, video, or reviews? Digital reviews. What do you guys think? I'm drinking, hydrating. Yep. Let's see. Sean Jackson says combo reviews and social. I didn't say you could do reviews or a combo. But social is important. Reviews are obviously very important as well. What do we got here? So, oh man, social is a grind. A grind. I think the reason I stayed in social the way that I have is because I came through from Dig, which was such a one-to-one. Hey man, would you click this link? And then, oh, click mine, look mine, look at mine. Here's mine. Here's yours. Here's mine. and literally just going to hundreds of people in the course of like 15 minutes when you put up a link just to see what would happen. But when you figure something out like that, it's pretty good. Social is hard work, and then regular social is hard work. I mean, first off, paid social is very difficult. That's why they're some of the top people in the country work at large agencies for buying, and they're amazing at it. And then we got the smaller ones as well that make the sense too. So woohoo, woohoo. Anybody else? Anybody else got any thoughts? Any thoughts? Also, Sean, I hope you did hear me say I do need VHS recommendations for horror films that are only available on VHS. VHS. Because I'm having a midlife crisis about horror films only on VHS. So, yeah. Turn that thing up. Getting turned. All right, we're going to move on. Most important thing that you need to understand, regardless of whether we're doing this at a film festival, at a premiere, at a networking event or conference, is if you want to meet more people, shake more hands. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. Gotta shake more hands. You want fame? Well, fame costs, everybody. By the way, this is great because on Giphy, they have a cameo section. So of like celebrities that have donated their cameos over that they've shot to people for people that donate them. Oh man, it's just hilarious. Hilarious. So I just literally saw this one and I was like, yeah, I'm using this one. So anyway, you want to be famous, guys, it's gonna cost something. You want to make money, it's gonna cost something. You got to put in the effort. You got to do 2 shows a week. You got to write 1,000 words a day. Like you got to do the effort. You know that. I have a friend that literally disappeared for nearly a year off the internet. I just found him, and he's written 12 full scripts. 12. That's insane, and I'm so proud of him because I don't think I could do it, but he did, and that's awesome. That's so awesome, you know. And it's gonna cost. There's a price to pay. So. We'll take Debbie down for a minute. Debbie Downer. We might have to finish. You see the color change? Does everyone know why? Oh, you know why, guys. It's Words of the Week. Oh, man. Words of the Week is a segment every single week, whereas I try and relay 3 different words to either marketing, my life, or film. These words are assigned by my 7-year-old son, who goes into random word generator and decides to just randomly smash the button a number of times that he feels like until he comes up with 3. Since he knows how to use the Drive Google.com, he jumps into the back end and puts these in every week with the assistance of his mom. I have not seen these words. The first I will see them is right now. I have to come up with definitions for these words and how they work. We are going to see if I can do it because last week I did really bad. Last week was really bad to the point where I didn't even ask anyone how I did because like Jason Horton was like, I'm out. I'm leaving. This is really bad. He didn't leave. He didn't leave. He's not here. All right, here we go. So we're going to go words of the week. All right. I'm making myself small so you don't have to see me big. Here we go. Words of the week. Posture. Oh, I would say this. About 40%. I'm going to make myself bigger. Oh, man. Where am I? Maybe 40% of what you do online for marketing is posturing. If you can get in front of somebody and deliver a certain attitude or promise a certain thing that will get you exposure, all you have to do is be someone that someone else needs to see to deliver that. And that's posturing to an extreme. You need to do it. Absolutely do it. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be cruel. You just got to posture. I think my son thought I would say standing up. Here we go. Slab. I'm telling you this. There have been periods of time where I've been working on projects where I absolutely thought a project was dead and on a slab and we were done. And guess what? We resurrected it with clever marketing. And one of the cool things that we learned was the slingshot, which I'm glad to share with you guys every single week because it keeps stuff off the slab and makes it so everybody is allowed to go out there and grow and put the word out about their projects in a way that, like, hey, man, like, look, I got 6 placements off that. 6 placements. You know how long 6 placements took me to get? And, like, and it's just like one of those great things. So hopefully that works. And let's see what we give you last. Refer. Anytime I don't have an answer, I refer you to someone who will. I am not so vain that I am capable of thinking that I am the only person in the world that thinks that I have the answers. And those are the words of the week, guys. And that's it. I do that every week. Why do I slap right by the microphone with the gain on so high? I'm so sorry. Want to know where to find me? Here we go. Boop, 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 boop. That's Ninja when he signed with Mixer, which is no longer a thing. Poor guy, didn't work out. Anyway, where to find me? Here on Facebook, you can find me, Sean Michael Smith. Feel free to add me. We can be friends. On Twitter, go Sean M. Smith. Instagram, S222. Twitch, S222 as well. I just got my green screen. Finally showed up from China. The big green thing that goes in the back of your chair. Yeah, it's not really going to work that well because it leans back real funny. It's going to be a really weird experiment for me. Last but not least, you can go to YouTube, Sean M. Smith or Sean Smith 22 there. And last but certainly not least, every Tuesday I do a podcast with my son, or I do a podcast with my son that comes out every single Tuesday morning. That is called Potato Salad Marmalade. You can check it out at potatosaladmarmalade.com or get more info at anchor.fm/potato salad marmalade. And always, man, it's been a fun week, guys. I really had fun this week. I hope you guys had fun too. I hope you learned something. I hope that things were good. Most importantly, I want to say, listen, if you're here and we have not talked yet, go.onesub.com, Sean M. Smith. Let's have a talk. We can talk your project, see if there's a way that I can help you in any way. If not, let's see if I can help you find a resource that makes the most sense and I can point you in a direction to help your team grow. That's really what matters the most to me because I like making friends and I like building the community here because it's super important to me to get you guys out here. So I hope that works. For this week, guys, thank you, friendos. We will talk soon. Thursday at filmocracy.com. Be on the lookout for the actual placement. I'll be putting it up on all the pages soon. But for now, ta-ta, I am S2, and I will see you all soon.